Hello. I thought I'd do a little vlog on a bit of news that I saw this week, that the EU and America are concerned about propaganda from the TV channel Russia Today. Um, Russia Today is funded by the Russian government, according to all reports, and I don't have any reason to doubt them. And the Western authorities are concerned that they're losing the propaganda war, basically. Um, because it's an interesting and captivating channel to watch sometimes. Um, and I thought I'd have a look and see, is it propaganda? Um, so I've had a bit of a look, and sure enough, actually it is, in my view. You may think differently. At the very least, it fails the test of objectivity, and I think a lot of channels fail the test of objectivity. Some are biased one way, some are biased the other, but with Russia Today it's particularly blatant. And I'll put some links below, so you can consider that for yourself what you think. Now, when we think of propaganda, we normally, I don't know about you, but I kind of think of old-fashioned 1940s or something, really in your face, saying we should do this, or George Bush making up some nonsense about Iraq or something, or Saddam Hussein. But it doesn't have to be like that. It's often rather more subtle, and the way it's done on Russia Today is I think, quite clever. For example, my first link is to a recent episode of the Keiser Report. Now, Max Keiser loves criticising the Western financial system, and it deserves it. It's very open to being criticised. But his programs, in my view, lack objectivity. You can't really learn anything from them because there's nobody there to put an opposing view. There's no experts on the show who have anything to say that's different from what Max would say. And if he interviews people, they're basically on his side. Anyway, it's one-sided. You can't learn much about a subject if you're only listening to one side of an argument. I can listen to that show and it's interesting and entertaining, but I don't know if anything that I've heard on there can be regarded as objectively true, because there's been no proper argument about it. And let's face it, he's not a scientist. If I listen to a science documentary, BBC Horizon programme, for example, I can be pretty sure that they're talking sensible stuff. I think there's nothing controversial or doubtful about it, to be honest. I know some people would argue about shows about evolution, but I'm afraid the anti-evolution arguments don't wash for me. I can't see how it could be that evolution doesn't happen. But anyway, that perhaps controversial subject aside, I don't see any problem with a straightforward nature science documentary. You can see clearly that what you're getting is factual information. But on a show like the Keiser Report, what you're getting is entertainment and anti-Western propaganda, anti-Western financial system propaganda, feeding people's envy, because a lot of us don't have enough money. And yes, we are annoyed with the bankers who screwed up the system. But let's fix it. This show doesn't tell us how to do that. So that's one. Another example is their debate show Crosstalk. I've got an example here where they have 3 people plus the host talking about the US empire, as they call it. Now normally in this sort of format, say on the BBC or something, you would expect to have a couple of people with opposing views and a host moderating between the two. And sometimes those debates can get quite heated. But here, there's nobody who really says anything that differs much from the others. They're just explaining the idea of an American empire to a gullible public. It's easy when watching this kind of thing to just see those people as experts and swallow what they say without noticing that actually there's nobody there arguing with them. It's a controversial point of view with no controversy. Whether they're right or wrong, this is not the way to prove it. There's another one I give a link to the idea that the United Nations is a vehicle for US propaganda. Again, it's interviewing a guy who's you'll probably, if you're into conspiracy theories, you'll have seen him before. But no contrary view. Nobody to argue with him. And there's nobody to mention that the Soviet Union was very much in favour of the United Nations because it was a vehicle for them to manipulate world politics as well. Well, there you go. Then there's a news story, it's an interview again, about police brutality in the United States. Now, it's an important subject, and it really does need to be stamped out. There's a lot of information out there about policemen, men usually, very much overstepping the mark and abusing their authority in the United States. It happens everywhere to some degree, but it's a lot more blatant, I think, in the US of late. And I think it's been going on for a long, long, long time. I think many black people over there would have noticed it. It happens over here too, in Britain, but it's kind of less blatant as far as I'm aware. But the programme, of course, doesn't mention that police brutality is not actually the exception in Russia, it's actually routine. And so is police corruption. The channel spends most of its time criticising the United States and US policies, and it does not criticise Russia. So Russia, as any objective viewer surely must know, is run by oligarchs and gangsters and ex-KGB people like Putin, who have this much respect for human rights, 0, and they've only adopted a kind of a Western authoritarian system because the old tyrannical socialism didn't really work for them, and they had to take the lid off. There's no mention of that. Their country is a mess. Outside Moscow, you can't even have a flat pavement in most places. It's terrible, right? The country is neglected. It's getting poorer because it's badly run, because nobody cares about civic pride or improving the place, frankly. It's everyone for himself and devil take the hindmost, and bribery and corruption. And do they talk about that? Is there, they criticise the West like it's so terrible here, but at least people here are trying, and at least people here can say what they think. Maybe you disagree with me. Maybe this is a controversial video, I don't know. You can leave a comment. You might subscribe if you like my vlogs. I'll try and put something up every now and then. I'm at work a lot of the time, so it's a bit difficult sometimes, but I'll try and get something up every week, either this or a games video or something. But bye for now.